Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Can.
And this is a pebble. A weekly podcast brought to you by Flick the Bean, a new coffee roaster in town where they put the
It's
so
magic. Good. Oh. Sorry. You know you can't say things that have phrases that can be catchy.
The so good in your morning. Flick the Bean Roasters, a female-led coffee company.
Yeah, because a man couldn't find it.
Because a man couldn't what?
Couldn't find it.
Only women can find it.
That's why it has to be woman-owned.
Oh, Candy, you're a gem. What do you have for me tonight?
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question. It's a little help from ChatGPT.
Don't be so bashful.
Okay. If you could instantly erase one unspoken rule or expectation that we absorbed from religion or culture about marriage, what would it be? Let's focus on evangelical, is how we were raised, or I was raised. And when you came into marriage, this was your idea, right? If there was one thing you could erase, one unspoken rule or an expectation, how do you think our relationship would have been different if we hadn't had that in the first place?
Okay, so if we didn't have some unspoken rule about marriage,
yes,
how would our relationship?
And it doesn't even have to be unspoken, just an expectation.
Well, I think the rules are in place for a good reason, because they help us follow a godly path.
Okay, but if you could take one of them out is the point. What are you turning into are you deconverting from deconversion? Is that what's happening?
You be a spiritual leader, right?
So what are you saying?
All the rules were there for an intended purpose, so that a marriage would be perfect. But
was it? Let's ask. If you're going to if you're going to take it this direction, then, which is not what I intended you to do.
What I would say would be take out the hierarchy.
Take out the hierarchy where in a marriage between man and a woman?
It's not God, husband, wife, children.
Okay.
It's husband and wife. And children are obviously going to be underneath until they.
Okay, let's just forget about the God part, because that can shut people down. Like, you can't take God out of the top. But instead of like husband over wife, you think it should be husband and wife.
Yes. So if we took that aspect out and started it like a gay marriage.
If you weren't the spiritual leader, which is actually, I will tell you, there's no phrase like that in the Bible anywhere of a man being a spiritual leader. That's made up.
But if you treated it, and this is going to prove the point of all the evangelicals out there that this is wrong. If you treated it like a gay marriage, there's no man and woman. It's man and man or woman and woman. So
it's two equals.
We're all on equal plane to start off with. So you figure out the roles that fit best. And there may be some experimentation in that. All right, why don't you, okay, I'm working a lot here and I'm not getting home till 5, so why don't you cook and see if that works? Well, that ain't working out. I hate cooking. Okay, I can do it after work if you're willing to eat a little later, but I'm going to need you to help with this. Can you do this and this? Yeah, I can do that.
Can you be the one that cleans up? Can I not have to? In all honesty, like, you cook a lot, but you don't clean a lot. No. I do way more of the cleaning than you do, but you cook, and I don't.
Figured out
rarely
how to share responsibility equally. There wasn't roles for Candy and there wasn't roles for Dan. In spirituality, and when we were in religion, you were much better at it than I was. You
mean spiritual leader?
Yeah, and education of the kids in the spiritual realm.
Well, I was doing a lot of the spiritual leading, yes.
And still are.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
So yeah, there's different roles that you're more suited for than I am, and there's roles I'm more suited for, and there's no rhyme or reason on gender based on that. It's what works for us.
Okay, yeah, and some people hear that and they say things like you sent me a TikTok where it was a husband handing his wife food, and she said, "This is how I eat when my husband's home," and it was like a beautiful meal,
steak, vegetables,
green beans or asparagus, potatoes. It looked really good. And this is how I eat when my husband's not home. And she's like cutting a chip and eating it with a fork, and she looks disheveled and like she's just got this bowl of chips basically, and it looks sad and pathetic. And we laugh at it because it is kind of true. I don't like to cook at all. I will once in a while. Maybe I'm burnt out. Maybe I'll start liking it a little bit again. But I just did it for the kids for so many years, and
Let's be real.
What?
You're not gonna like it.
I don't know.
It once in a while.
Once in a while, I don't mind it.
You already get upset when I have to work at night.
Okay, yes.
And if I had I got to make dinner on Tuesday.
If I had a special recipe that I wanted to make, maybe. Like I obviously at like lunchtime, if I make myself lunch, I put together a sandwich and stuff. The cooking of a meal for like dinner.
Each year it gets easier and easier. Now we're down to 2 extra mouths to feed instead of 3.
Yeah. So it's like.
So when I'm working late at night here, eventually it'll be like, I can just make whatever I want tonight.
Yeah. I mean, that's true.
My factor meal.
I would do this. Anyways, but it's like, okay. But in the comments, there was people saying things like, there was men saying this, like a lot of women were like, yeah, my husband does that. Or like, man, that'd be amazing, blah, 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 blah. But then there's these guys that come in, what does she do for you? And here's the thing. Like, yes, they act like if she's not, they wouldn't say it if it was the other way around. If she was handing him the meal, they would think that's normal, right? The woman waiting on and serving the man, that's normal. Yeah. That's what she should be doing. So they think she's not doing anything if she's not doing that. Right. I mean, she could be working a job 9 to 5. I don't know what she does, but you know what I'm saying? She could be doing all of the housework or some of the house. You know what I'm saying? Like they've figured it out what works for them. But in some of these comments, some of the men were like, if she's not cooking, then what is she doing for you? Like she's using you. And I'm like, these are probably men that are not in healthy relationships.
Yeah. And honestly, let the guy answer. Because I guarantee he can be like, well, she's doing this, and this. So this is how we share responsibility.
Yeah.
It's an equal household. We share responsibility. It's not assigned because of what's located between my legs.
Yeah. And it's not if women get more rights, it doesn't mean they do to men what men have done to them. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Where men have subjugated them to being servants in the home, they're not then in turn going to make a man a servant in the home. Yeah. What we're advocating for is equality, where you decide, you have discussions. It is not the lazy way. It is you have to communicate with one another. You have to sit down and have these discussions before you get married. I remember our marriage counseling was terrible. It was just like, what are you going to do if he drops his clothes on the floor and doesn't put them in the hamper? I was like, to pick them up? I don't know. I mean, yes, that could create problems. I don't know if that's a problem he had with his wife or what. It was just a very weird question. Instead, he should have asked us, like, how are you going to divvy up the chores? Like, what is your view of marriage, Dan? And what is your view of marriage, Candy? Like, how are you guys going to make this type of relationship work if you have a very opposing views? Like if you politically lean on this side really strongly and you are politically really strong on this side, like, is that going to work? That kind of stuff.
I think part of the problem there, though, is that was Christian marriage counseling before Christian premarital counseling, which I think automatically assumes the roles.
Yeah, it does. It was assumed that I would fulfill a certain role, and we believed it too, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was like I would be doing the laundry, I would be doing the cleaning, not him, and he could just almost act like a teenage boy, drop his clothes wherever he wants, leave his dishes wherever he wants, and I would just walk around like a little servant and pick up after him. That is the okay. Okay, so let's say we didn't have that. If we didn't have the idea of spiritual leader and wife be servant, basically. Serve your husband. If it wasn't always like submit, 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 and we know in the way, like it does say submit to one another, but they ignore that. And that's always been a contentious situation. You know, people, they always do that. And they go to wife submit to husband. They don't narrow in on the verse where it says husbands love your wife like Christ loves the church and laid down his life for her. That basically means lay down what you want to do. Love your wife so much that you're going to like do what is best for her, what is good for her, what makes her, you know, brings her freedom.
Oh, funny you remember that verse.
But, you know, okay, so like they don't talk about that one in church very often. You know, I've never heard a sermon on it. But if you didn't have that, how would our lives have been different, you think?
I think we would have got to where we are now a lot sooner.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think part of getting rid of that hierarchy helped figure out self too. And break down some of these things in our life that were pretty damaging.
Masks we were wearing, facades we were put on. Yeah.
Just helping us understand who we are and accept that. And help to self-acceptance. And that really helped everything in life in general grow to be all right with, all right, I don't like cooking, Dan.
Are you still going to love me and stick around? And, you know, because you could walk away.
Yeah. So that's what you got. What are you going to do with it? And I'm like, well, I don't mind cooking. So let's try that out. And it worked. So
that's not really how that happened. I broke my leg and you had to cook. And then we kind of like, we're like, this was kind of an interesting little experiment we got thrust into. And I liked it.
I mean, in general, that we were breaking down the hierarchy before that anyway. So I think it just opened up all sorts of new avenues of just understanding who we actually were and what best suited us and what makes us function better. What's going to give us more energy at night? And we've talked about this in other episodes where cooking, if you had so many forks of energy during a day, cooking might have, if everyone's given 20 forks, cooking might have taken 10 forks from you.
A lot of energy.
3 forks from me.
Because it's something I don't want to do. I'm having to push myself to do. So I'm pushing against resistance, you know, where you're not pushing against resistance necessarily.
If we're a couple and we put them energy forks together and say we have 40 and it takes 10 from you and 3 from me, well, why don't you do it with your 3 and that still leaves us 37 total amongst us. So we can have energy to do other things that we might enjoy and could benefit us both greatly because we have more energy to do it now.
Yeah.
So
it's created more time for each other. You know, we have more time together than we had before, I feel like.
That's been great.
Jerk. I've been able to pursue like business opportunities and stuff that I wouldn't have been able to pursue before. You've had more downtime, honestly. I'm not sure why that is. I feel like you're doing more than you ever did, but you also have more time like with the family and stuff, it seems like. So I don't know how that's happened.
It's because I'm well rested.
That's true.
Plenty of naps work.
Not true. Not true. It's an inside joke. Okay. If you know, you know. Anyways. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, we would have gotten to where we are here. We would have gotten here earlier. I think we would be in a better financial situation, honestly, if we had.
All right, everyone, rewind 15 seconds and watch where she started fumbling on her phrase. And this is Candy. We've ever. Okay, we got there faster than we would have.
I was trying to say, what am I trying to say?
You could see it just reorganizing in her head.
Say it correctly. I think financially we'd be in a better place.
Oh, yeah.
I think, but I'm not going to sit and regret. Like, we learned from it.
Yeah.
We learned a lot as we came out of it. Regrets aren't going to get us anywhere anyways. It's just, yeah, we didn't put ourselves in the situation on purpose. It was something I was born into, and in order for us to be together, you had to fall for it, or we wouldn't be together. We wouldn't have the kids that we have. You know what I'm saying? So, was it worth all of that? Yeah, I guess in a way it was.
I mean, even mistakes are learning experiences, and they're valuable.
We can look at it and hate it, which I don't want it to repeat on people. I don't want it to continue because it is harmful. But I will take what we were given and we will use it. We'll pull the good from it that we learned, because we learned, we learned what doesn't work for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways,
that's all you got?
That's all I got.
All right. I got a brief one here on a video I saw the other day.
Okay.
Tried to do this in under 4 minutes. It was Neil deGrasse Tyson. He had a prediction. The internet's going to die as it exists today.
I've wondered this before. Okay, what did he say?
He said that right now we use social media and the internet solely or mostly for information, news source, and that AI is going to get so good at faking news
that you're not going to be able to believe it.
That the people that believe fake news are going to see fake news and realize it's fake news because AI is good at faking news, that they're going to realize all of this is just fake, and they're going to abandon it and go back to just watching cat videos.
So the internet news is going to die, not all of the web.
Not all the web.
Like, we'll still have access to the information. I hope we still have access to the information.
But it's not going to be considered an informational source as much anymore.
Like for current events and stuff.
Yeah, the deep fakes are going to self-sabotage everything on it.
That wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, would it?
Well,
Then we'd have to go back to newspapers.
Oh.
That might be kind of fun. Newspapers, holding them in your hands and reading the paper. Kind of go, I don't mind that. Just go to the sports section. That's what you do. And you can see the scores. Maybe journalism is going to have to get good again. They're going to have to be actual, journalism might be resetting in a way, which that ain't a bad thing. Because the opinions that are coming out are what cause the facts we could handle if the opinions weren't added to it. We're hearing all the opinions and it's driving, it's just.
Yeah, you're getting all the bias on it. So
yeah, and you're getting it from different angles, which causes confusion. And it's hard to dig through it because there's also lies mixed in. So
lies.
Yeah.
So anyways, all right. That's all I had. Good to expound on that.
The internet is going to die.
Glad you could add to that. All right. So go up dannycan.com. Everything's on there. Go into the candy jar and find all things candy. Her blog, her Substack, her hypnotherapy. The candy jar. Get into it. Get your hands into the candy jar. And then go up and rate us 5 stars before the internet is dead, because we'd appreciate that greatly. 4 stars and the AI bots will overwhelm everything, and it'll be completely anti anything you like. If you're on YouTube, smash that like, hit that subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Just keep pushing us out there. Keep pushing and pushing. And remember, listen to us.
Or don't. Do what you want. Bye.
Bye.